Okay, Yiwen, let's look at your paper. Okay. Question A says, what does source A tell you about the management of discrimination? Okay, so this is general. You must tell me, is it effective or ineffective? Okay. So source A tells me that the management of discrimination is effective. Okay. The survey shows most of the Australians willing to accept. What is the evidence? Okay, you need to tell me the actual percentage of it. We have already done this in common test. When we come to statistics, you need to quote for me the actual figures, right? This is the same as common test, which is the same mistake which we have made. It shows that Australia is effective in managing. Okay, this is not an explanation. So what if Australians are willing to accept presence of people of other races? This is just a link. Effective in managing the issue of racism. There is a missing step here which you didn't explain. Okay, so you should tell me something like, since Australians are willing to accept people of other races, um, they would not they would befriend each other, they will start to understand each other more, then therefore this shows that there is effectiveness in managing the issue of racism. Okay, otherwise what you wrote here is just a link. Okay, since there is no evidence, I can only award you up to L33. Okay, so it's 3 upon 6, mainly because of the evidence and explanation. Okay, next question, why was this infographic published? So this is a purpose question, there must be an intention. The infographic is published to convince the Australians that the rate of their discrimination is increasing. Okay, the intended outcome is that will start to prevent racism, good, and also from undesirable repercussions, good word. This is evident from source B, which shows that increased by 6%. Okay, for the evidence, give me a minute, I look at my mark scheme. Okay, for giving evidence, it will be L3. What about the context? Which means what was happening at that time. Okay, how do we know what is happening at that time? We have to turn back to the background info. Okay, the context is given here because there are acts of discriminations now and then in Australia. Okay, so based on this, you have evidence, you have purpose word is L4, it'll be L45. Okay, because you are missing context. Okay, so let's look at the third question. How different are sources C and D? How different is general, that means a part of it should be similarity. Okay, so for every comparison question, I should see one similarity and one difference. Okay, let's see. Sources C and D are different in the thoughts of people in Australia. Thoughts is very general. You should tell me thoughts with regards to discrimination, race, or what? Okay, source C shows it is a handful of people who are very narrow-minded, and we are all terrorists. Okay, this shows that Australians display prejudice against people of other races and treat them as terrorists. Okay, prejudice is a good word we just learned. However, in source D, it shows that 68%, we should learn more. Okay, this suggests that Australians did not discriminate, want to know more. Okay, this is what explanation should be like instead of the previous question. Okay, hence sources C and D are different in terms of whether people agree that there is discrimination. Okay. Okay. So in this case, I would think there is a match, but your common criteria must be written better, more specific. Okay, there's prejudice, did not discriminate. I can give you L3 here, L3 here. Okay. So sources C and D are similar in saying that people of different races would like to know about each other. Very good. This is very specific. Source C shows that we can explain to you. Okay, while source D shows we should do more to learn. Okay, L4 for evidence. People of different races would like to know more about each other. Okay, link to race. Okay lah, I think this is fine. Okay, so this question is not too bad. I will give you L4. Okay, let's see the next question. 1D. In what ways is source E reliable about discrimination? About discrimination again is general. You need to point out very specifically for me, is it present, not present, or what? Okay, so source E is reliable in saying that only a minority of people in Australia discriminating. Okay, this is your point. Evidence from source E which says that there is also counter evidence. Benefits. Okay, let me see the source. Okay, this shows that most of Australians treasure the multicultural society, does not want any discrimination. Okay, L3 supports in saying that only a minority, 68%, want to learn more. Most of Australians would like to know more. Good. L4 for evidence. What about your summary statement? If the summary is missing, how do I know what's the point of cross-referencing to source E? Okay, so for that, give me a minute. I'll give you L4, 5. Okay. Lastly, question E. How useful is source F in showing that Australia has not been effective? Okay, not effective. Useful, not been effective. How do we know? 12 to 20% in prison for the same offense. Okay, L3. This shows that Aboriginal is treated unfairly. How? Missing explanation. Okay, how is 29% more likely to be in prison unfair? You need to describe to me. Is it because of their race? Okay, so missing explanation, I cannot award you for a cross-reference source. But let's see. Okay, supports, therefore useful, effective, not being effective, and we are all terrorists. Okay, people of other races have bad impression. This shows that people of other races have a very bad impression of every Australian. But is this not valid for Aboriginal to feel so? So who is the one being at fault here? Is it Aboriginals or the Australians? Okay, but because you are missing explanation here, let me just write it down. incomplete explanation, so I can only give you up to L3 3. Okay, let's see the last question. Okay, extract 1 is talking about rise in diabetes, 2 possible reasons, this and this. Okay, the question is asking you to help think of 2 ways to help prevent solutions. So these 2 can be possible, you can think of possible solutions based on this. Okay, and you must link back to help prevent. This is the question focus. Okay, so let's see. Firstly, government can help prevent by free public health checkup. Good. Okay, for example, a booth with doctors under the void deck, specific location, convenient, good. Level 2. Okay, so far these are description. We don't need to worry about health expenditure. Okay, in this way you are missing link to, okay, not link, so you should say in this way how can this suggestion help to prevent diabetes. What I'm looking for is explanation. Okay, so second way, publish advertisements every Singapore channel, so through TV, so as to alert Singaporeans to reduce, for example, tips to exercise regularly, balanced diet, alcohol intake. Okay, all these again description. Okay, so as to alert Singaporeans, again in this way, as more Singaporeans know about how to do it, they would eventually be convinced, blah blah blah. Okay, I will need more explanation. So for 2 description, you get L2 4 marks. Okay, so L2 4.